Well, I think it goes without saying it is really hot out here. And since I started every episode that way, might as well keep with the tradition. I'm already almost soaked. This is the "if it ain't broke, I haven't tried to fix it yet" shirt. Also, new hat. Got to represent the merchandise. But right now I'm soaking it up with some sweat. It is warm. I got both swamp coolers at full chooch in here. So it's probably about 2,000% humidity. Either way, it's helping significantly. But today, I have had about enough of this idle. It is driving me absolutely bonkers. So I'm fully prepared to take some timing out, get rid of some of the extra horsepower, however much horsepower 5 degrees of timing gives you, and try and take it down. Also got some hints from some people on things we should try, so we're gonna try some of that stuff today. This thing, you can't even move it anywhere. Anytime it idles down and you try and start up again, it just sits there and romps. And it's not the cam, it's the idle air control, something with the computer. So we'll look at all that stuff, try and figure out what we can get to get this thing just to drive normally. Because I got something coming for this car, and it should be here within the next week, maybe on the next episode. And all I can say is that it's gonna be cool. So what we need to do is fix this idle so it can actually drive the car and enjoy the car and use it for what it was meant to do, to haul ass on the street. I mean, to drive like a normal law-abiding person on the street with no burnouts or light-to-light full throttle pulls, because that would be very, very, very bad, and we don't do things like that. So, and if we do, we go to Mexico to do that stuff. We don't do it here in the States. Anyways, let's dive into this thing. Start with the easy stuff. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at, flip this idle air control over. So let me bring you in, show you what I'm talking about. Woo, she's dusty. Maybe I should have sprayed it off beforehand. Nonetheless, this idle air control is brand new. When we first started having issues with the car, I swapped that out. It was full of corrosion and some other garbage. So we swapped that guy out. It's brand new. One of the tips that I've been given from you guys in the comments is that I should take this idle air control and flip it around the other direction. The way it senses air coming from a different direction, maybe that'll fix the idle. So we're gonna do the easiest thing first, and that's flipping that around. We'll see if it immediately corrects it by starting it, and if it doesn't, then we'll try and tune in the idle by pulling the plug and checking the TPS and running the idle up. If that doesn't fix it, we'll move on to the next thing, or next trick we'll try. I'm hoping we can finish this in one shot, you know, just flip this idle air control and the car is like, whoa, yes, that works. Why didn't you do that from the beginning? Or it's way, way, way worse and we go back and we try something else. But I'm hoping for the previous. Let's take this thing off. All right. All right, I don't know how this is gonna work. If the inlet's here, outlet's there, I guess it's just a plunger that moves back and forth, so it doesn't matter which direction the air comes from, because it's not reading it at all, it's just bypassing it. So we'll just flip it around, just say we did it, because that was the suggestion to do it. It might work, who knows? I don't think that it actually reads any airflow. I think it's just a solenoid, but we'll give it a try anyways. Throw a little hawk tool on this gasket and then we'll throw it up there. I don't know if our plug is going to reach up here. We'll make it work somehow, some way. All right, let's plug this thing in, see what we got. Oh, it just barely fits. Come on, get up there. There we go. Fired up. I'm not too convinced that this is actually going to work, but hey, you never know, right? All right, friends, now's the time. Cross your fingers, hit that drum roll. See if we fixed it. All right. Well, let's see if it figures it out quick enough. Figure it out. Come on. right about 1,000. So it's not like I don't have the RPM high enough to sustain. They're way higher than they actually should be. So shut it off, unplug the cork, and then unplug the IAC and try and run the idle in, see where the TPS is, and maybe that'll bring it in a little bit. And then if that works, we'll try the timing. So the things you missed, well, I thought it was recording, but it wasn't. As soon as I started it up, straight into a lope. The IAC's disconnected, the plug in the distributor is disconnected, and it just sits there. It didn't even want to run, actually. So I bumped up the idle screw, and now it's idling like 1100, 1200 RPM, which is why every time I mess with this, I want to light it on fire and push it out of the garage, because it doesn't make sense what's going on, and it's really starting to lean towards maybe it's a computer issue. But since everything's disconnected and it would not idle, I bumped up the idle air screw. We're going to let it sit here and warm up, and then we'll go into the TPS and see what that's set at, hook it all back together and start it up and see if we reset everything. And if it's not that, we'll take the timing down. While we're waiting, I can't help but admire just how good it actually sounds, even though it makes me want to punch a kitten in the face. Just a sound like no other. That is the 5-liter chop. LS has some good sounds. This engine, I think, sounds far better. The dual overhead cam Coyote 5.0, it sounds like an absolute screaming rotary engine at low RPM or higher RPM with an open exhaust. So I don't know. They can spin up to like 8,000, 9,000 RPM, so that's kind of cool. All right, let's see where we're at with this. So 0.93. What it'll probably end up doing is taking it down to like 0.9, 0.89, somewhere around there, just to give it a little bit more room. I've always had it up high, 98, 99, but it really hasn't helped the situation ever. And it's probably because we're not fighting this, we're fighting the actual computer. Like I said, that's what we're getting closer to, but 9.3, so let's take it back a little bit. See what that gets us. 9.7, 9.8. I don't know that I can get it to go the opposite direction far enough. 9.3 is like where it's set. Let me try and push it all the way over. See what that gets us. 9.3. All right. Since we did adjust the idle in, we had it at 0.98, 0.99. I can't remember exactly from the last video. And since we brought the idle in, it brought that down a little bit. We'll just see. We'll see if that's good enough and go from there. Yeah, I know. I should just open up the holes and push it over more. Or there's somebody on the screen screaming at me saying, no, it needs to go back to 99. You know what? I get it. But I'm just going to try this. We'll unplug the battery, turn the headlights on for like 30 seconds, and then see if it'll figure it out. It's probably going to sit there and lope the first time it starts until it figures it out. But after that, we'll try and start it again. Okay, should be all drained. Like I said, I fully expect it to sit here and try and figure it out this first time. But the second time, it should be fine. Should be normal. So we'll see. Idling so high. Alright, so let's shut it off, start it up again, and see if now that the computer's figured out if it's fine now. I don't suspect it's going to be, just because I've been down this road several times. Probably my 18th, 20th, 13th, 12th time, 11th, 376, 2,444. Did that really just fix it?
Can it be? It is.
No. No. I don't know. I don't believe it. I'm not too convinced. Let's take it for a little drive, see if the drivability works. Trolls pretty hard out here in Mexico, but that was never really the issue. It always pulled really hard. The issue was that I couldn't do normal day-to-day driving. I couldn't take off from stop signs, I couldn't pull into parking lots, couldn't do any of that stuff. It would just want to sit there and just romp and lope, and we couldn't even keep the idle up. It would stall, and that's embarrassing. Stalling's embarrassing, especially when you're in a gas station. But anyways, so far, it seems much more drivable. We'll hit some parking lots. See how it does. Oh, it's fun. The steering wheel's off for some reason. It's weird. I don't remember it being off, or maybe I just never fixed it. G60s in the back, they're bias plies. They just got no sidewall. And what I mean by no sidewall is just like one ply thick. And so this thing just wanders. It's a little sketchy sometimes, especially when you're getting up above 60 mile an hour in that range. So they just got to be swapped out. It's like, woo! Just feel the front digging in and you feel the back just all over the place. Alright, I've been driving around for a little while. Stopped to fill it up with some gas. Let's see how it goes starting it up. Still there. Okay. It's not nearly as bad though. It corrects after like 10 seconds. It already corrected. Alright. Let's go back and take a look at that computer. See if we got anything in there we should know about. All right, so I'm gonna give this girl some time to. Scrappy, is that a girl's name or a boy's name? Comment down below what you think, girl or boy. Yeah, but anywho, let's let this thing cool off. She's spicy right now under here. So driving around is a lot better. The startup still has that lurching, loping, trying to figure out what's going on type of idle air issue. But the drivability much better. And I've been through this process a bunch of times. Times when you guys saw it, times when you didn't see it, just trying to chase this down. And I don't know that the flipping the idle air control over did anything, but I'm gonna leave it alone. There's a chance maybe it did, but I think what had happened was during my last couple setups or whatever, the idle itself got bumped down to a point where it couldn't compensate. So when I brought it back up, it works now. But the problem is that when it's off throttle and it's a high idle, it is like 1500 RPM, and it'll stay that way until the car comes to almost a stop, and then it'll drop down to 1100, 1000 RPM. That idle is crazy to me. There's absolutely nothing done to this car that should warrant a 1100, 1200 RPM idle. The cam is not that aggressive. There's not that much stuff done to this. It's just GT40 heads and a B cam with stock injectors from an Explorer, stock ECU, everything else. So I think there's just a mismatch in all this stuff that is not working properly, and I'm still convinced there might be an issue with the computer itself. So let's just cool this down, and then we'll yank the computer out, look at all the stuff in there. I believe they said some of the capacitors fry, but we'll be able to see if there's anything burnt and swollen in any of those areas. So like I said, let's cool it down, grab some lunch, come back at it. Oh yeah. All right, so we need to pull this panel. Computer's tucked down in the back over here, so we'll pull the panel and pull the computer out, take it apart, see what it looks like on the inside. Basically the gist of it. There's not a whole lot else to it. And if we see some of the capacitors or some of the areas of the board is fired up, then we make the decision. Do we want to keep chasing this, or we just go ahead and go carb? I mean, really, we've kind of been chasing this decision for a while now, but I want to try and keep it, like I said earlier, I want to try and keep it as old school factory build as possible, but there's just a certain amount of drivability that just has to be taken into consideration. I can probably get one of these computers pretty cheap, but let's not count our eggs before they're hatched, because I'm pretty sure these are spoiled.
Good one.
I don't know how many times I've taken apart a foxbody interior on my GT and this one. Plastics never seem to go back in the right spot. I need to get the gaskets fixed on this thing, the door gaskets. This thing fills up with dust like nobody's business, just blowing around past the seals. Like, these seats were in perfect condition. Now they're all dusty and brown. Oh, righty then. Oh, little plastic clip broke. Okay, so as I'm sure you guys can see from over there, it's not exactly the most accessible thing, but we'll try and get her out of there. Let me go ahead and disconnect the battery before we go any further with all this business. So right off the bat, getting this thing out of here, the pins all look good. There doesn't look like there's been any arcing or anything else like that, but there's a lot of corrosion, and looks like maybe there was a water leak down from the windshield or the cowl or something that was leaking down into this area. And so that does not look promising. Leaking out the back here, so it's definitely coming in and out and across the bottom here. So let's get this cover off, take a look at the inside of this thing. It might be a goner, I don't know. Warranty void if it opened. Yeah, we don't care. Pretty sure warranty's long gone, about 30 years ago. Oh, darling. What size do we have here? Well, if I knew the handle was just going to spin inside of this thing. Boop. Trash. Cut that seal. All right, we ready to void this warranty? Oh no! Oh. That's it, no going back now. All right, let's take a gander. Nothing jumps out at me right away. Interesting. Let's take a look at the back of the board, see what that tells us. It all looks good. No burn marks, no swelling. Let me bring you in here close so you can verify. Make sure we're looking at the same thing. Now would be the time to put a new chip on here, but I'm not gonna do that because I ain't got one. Come on in, take a look at this. All right, so here's what we're looking at here. The board looks good. There is nothing on here that looks burnt, corroded, or otherwise. All the connections look good. Capacitors. So I'm not sure what to make of this other than our last resort is to go and take the timing down a little bit. It's all looks pretty good. Okay, so we're no closer to getting this figured out, other than maybe the idle screw was a little too far out. But at this point, if I take it in anymore, I'm going to be like idling at 1200, 1300 RPM, which is crazy. It's ludicrous. Just not going to work. So taking the timing up should make it ideally easier. I don't know. But we'll take the timing down, take it down to like 12. We're at 18 right now. We'll take it down to 12. I don't like that we're doing that. I feel like it runs really hard and top end at this timing, but I also don't run it high like that all the time. So let's take it down the timing and see what we end up with. All right, first let me throw this archaic piece of hardware back together and then throw it in the car and we'll jump up front. There's a bit of a dead space under the dash in there, away from the swamp coolers. A little sweaty. Let's go ahead and hook the battery back up, fire this thing up and set the timing. Pull out this little bung. Let's loosen up that distributor. All right, fired up. Like I said, 17-ish, 17, 16. Let's bring it down. That's about 12 right there. We shut it off. Put the bung back in. And fire it back up. Alright, so it didn't really lope at all, but like I said, we just turned it off for a couple seconds and then started it back up. And it wants to, with the bung that jumped in, it wants to run at about 18. So it brings the timing back up to 18. Still idling at 1100. We'll run through all the idle stuff again. I'm going to try and bring the idle down a little bit. I know we're going to go step back into what we didn't want to do, but it's 1100 RPM, so it shouldn't be like that, and there's no reason for it, other than it's just a combination of stuff we got in here just doesn't jive with the computer, and the computer doesn't know what to do with it. It's about what it's coming down to. So we'll go through the whole process again of setting the idle and then the throttle position sensor, see if we can't get it to actually start up and run without surging and have lower than 1000 RPM, 1100 RPM idle. Get right back with you. Okay, so I got the idle down to like 900, just standard. So went through, plugged everything back in, reset the computer. We'll fire it up again. And like we saw on the first time, it had to learn. Granted, we'll give it that. It has to learn, and then we'll see what it does after that. to idle at 1,000 RPM. No matter what I do to this system, 1,000 RPM is what it wants to idle at. Nothing below that. I can get it to idle higher than that, but 1,000 RPM that's what it is going to do no matter what. And we're back to surging. Kick a fat kid, so frustrating. Now let's shut it off, see if it figured it out. Well, this will probably be the last time you see any of this fuel injection on this car ever again. Don't hold me to it. I'm just saying right now. I don't know what to do with this thing. All you Ford foxbody fuel injection guys that have been dealing with the A9L and all this mass airflow and all that business, let me know what you think. What can I do to this thing to get it to idle properly ever again? I didn't touch anything with the idle, brought the timing down since the last time we went out and it was somewhat starting okay. Brought the timing down a little bit. Couldn't see anything wrong with the computer. Flipped that idle air control, which I really don't think did much. Hard to tell. This thing will not start without idle surge, and it won't idle and then receive a load without idle surge. So meaning anytime I come up to a stop sign or into a parking lot or anything like that, as soon as it idles down and I try and go again, it starts to idle surge all over again. Honestly, I'm tired of this fuel injection. It's been like this since the very beginning. I really wanted to run all this GT40 stuff, but it is terrible. It's not fun to drive. It is, for lack of better words, super frustrating. Let me know what you guys got for suggestions down in the comments. Tell me, what do you got? Besides taking all this off and throwing a carb on here. I really want to know. I need your help. Help me out. Thanks for watching. Check out the merchandise. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Share this video with your friends. One of your friends might know what to do with this. Also, it helps out the channel and spreading the word. Thanks for watching again. As always, have fun. I'm gonna go push this into a lake.